Hey everyone, and today we're going to talk about oil, power, and conflict, and how black gold shapes US policy, how it relates to the recent incidents in Venezuela, and also the wider world. Oil is more than fuel, it's power, it's money, it's geopolitics in motion, and the visible force behind that shaped US foreign policy for a century, fueled wars and toppled governments, and may even help explain why the biggest story in the world today is Venezuela. From Washington to Caracas, from Houston to Beijing, oil is the thread that ties global politics together. Today, we're going to deep dive on how oil shaped US political power, the real story behind Venezuela crisis, oil's role in modern conflicts, and what comes next for the world order. Oil didn't just fuel cars, it fueled empires. After World War II, the US became the biggest oil producer in the world. Energy meant industry. Energy meant military might. Energy meant diplomacy backed by muscle. US foreign policy became inseparable from oil interests, protecting the flow, secure the supply lines, and ensure friendly access. These became the hidden pillars behind America's strategy in every ocean and every desert. You don't see this on election posters, but you do feel it in every US intervention, sanction regime, and security pact. Why does oil dominate foreign policy? Well, oil framed the Cold War alliances. It framed the post 9/11 military footprint, and it shaped trade deals and rivalries East versus West, democracy versus authoritarianism, access versus blockade. Where energy is threatened, politics shift, oil and later gas become strategic weapons. So, why was Venezuela at the heart of America's recent actions? Well, Venezuela sits at the largest proven oil reserves on Earth. Yet, for decades, its production fell and its people suffered. Why? Chronic mismanagement and corruption. Heavy reliance on oil revenue without diversification. US sanctions aimed at choking the government's finances and oil exports. At its peak in the late 1990s, Venezuela produced almost 3.8 million barrels of oil per day. By late 2025, it was well below 1 million barrels a day, a collapse that devastated the economy and public services. Oil production crashed not because oil disappeared, but because the state failed to extract and sell it on. In January 2026, something unprecedented happened. US forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and moved him to the US on drug trafficking and arms related charges. This was framed in multiple ways. One was a crackdown on corruption and narco trafficking, a blow against authoritarianism regime, but behind the scenes, we all know that it was about energy control and access to the oil reserves. Critics say this was part of a long-term strategy to control Venezuelan oil. Before that operation, the US had already blockaded the Venezuelan oil tankers with a naval presence in the Caribbean. They imposed heavy sanctions that halted exports to markets such as India and Europe. But then, after Maduro's capture, US policy shifted again. By late January 2026, the US eased some of the sanctions on Venezuelan oil sector to allow American companies to resume trading, export, and refining of Venezuelan crude. Venezuela passed a bill to open its oil industry to foreign investments, ending years of strict state control. Citgo, a major US oil refiner formerly tied to Venezuela, bought its first Venezuelan oil cargo since 2019. So, how has global politics shaped oil now? Venezuela isn't just a local crisis, it's a global chess piece. When it moved against Caracas, Russia saw its influence in the region shrink. China's oil and infrastructure investment faced uncertainty, and European sanctions and credibility was tested. In energy markets, Venezuela's huge reserves matter, but only if production, logistics, investment, and stability can match the resource base. So, what happens next? As the world transitions away from fossil fuel, oil's political power won't disappear overnight, but it's evolving. So, this is what we can see from the emerging trends. Energy diversification reduces oil dependencies. Critical minerals and renewables rise as geopolitical stakes. Control of energy transitions may rival control of oil in strategic importance. In Venezuela specifically, the future depends on whether investment and reforms truly revitalize the oil output without exploitation, how the US manages revenue flow back to Venezuelans, and how other powers react to the new energy policy landscape. And yes, the story isn't over. In fact, it's just entering the next chapter. If you found this video interesting or useful, give me a like and subscribe, and don't forget to watch out for our upcoming new videos.